Okay, Kianna, would you like to just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, so I'm Kianna Hermida. I'm currently a detective in the domestic abuse team under the Public Protection Unit. I'm 29 years old. I'm a mother, I'm a wife, and I joined the police in 2020.
So you joined in 2020. What roles have you done in the RGP to date?
So when I joined in 2020, I undertook the training school, which was great. Made a lot of friends there. And once I did my pass out parade, we started on a response team. So I was on shift. Shift was absolutely great. What I loved about shift was, how versatile it was, dealing with all sorts of jobs. But I found very early on in my career in shift that I was very passionate about domestic abuse. I was extremely passionate about domestic abuse, and I always envisioned, working in that department. That was always the end goal.
So we talked a little bit before we were on camera, and you told me that had always been your goal. So talk to me a little bit more about what you do in your role in the Public Protection Unit.
Yeah, so as a detective in the domestic abuse team, I mean, it's absolutely great. It's a very rewarding job. It's all about protecting the most vulnerable victims of domestic abuse, offering guidance, advice to those who may not be ready to report, any offences at this moment in time. However, maybe just need some advice in relation to how they can, move forward. And it's absolutely great. Honestly, it's very challenging. I'm not going to lie, it's extremely challenging because we deal with the most high-risk cases, but it is very rewarding when you're able to help, victims of domestic abuse.
So tell me a little bit about Gibraltar as a place. Would it typically, are people happy to come forward and report things to the police? What can you tell me about that?
I mean, it depends. It depends. I think when we're talking about domestic abuse in general, it's very difficult because, people need to be ready to make that step, to report whatever it is that they're wishing to report to police. So I would say it depends. It depends on the person and the stage that they're at, and whether they feel ready to, to speak to someone about abuse that they may be subjected to at home. What I would say is, sometimes they just need to speak to someone and get some advice. It completely depends on the person and what it is they're being subjected to. But we're here to, to listen, to offer our guidance, our support, and, and refer. We could even make referrals, to different agencies. It might be the case that they're not ready to proceed, in reporting something. However, they may need that little bit of support. So we can make referrals, we can refer them to different agencies who may be able to offer counseling or, general advice, legal clinics. So there's a lot we do in the team, but not everyone is ready, to take that step. So what we say is we are there, we're available when they are ready, and we just offer support and guidance in the meantime.
Okay, that's brilliant. And I know part of the program I've been running is a gender program, and a lot of that is about giving development to women in policing, so that they can progress into those senior roles, and that all links into to what you're doing, into protecting the most vulnerable. So I know that you've had some development opportunities funded through the Foreign Office.
Yes.
Would you be able to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course. So early on in my career, actually, I joined the Women in Policing, the committee. So I was part of the committee. And through the committee, I was informed about, different opportunities available, funded by the FCGO. And I thought, oh, this is actually great. I'd be able to go abroad, network with different people. And I was given the opportunity to attend a conference in Edinburgh in 2023, which was fantastic. And we had loads of guest speakers, and it was just great. And it was actually on the International Women's Day week, which was amazing. And we had different guest speakers. It was all about leadership roles for women, and how to progress. And honestly, it was a real eye-opener, obviously seeing the way different forces operate. Obviously in Gibraltar was so small, it's such a small community, and it's such a small police station. When you go abroad and you hear from all these, powerful women and women in leadership, and you're hearing an assistant commissioner, females. We've only got a female. The highest female rank in Gibraltar is an inspector, so it was really good. It was a great eye-opener to witness all these powerful women in leadership speak about their experiences and challenges they face and how they overcome those challenges. And it was great learning opportunity.
Oh, it's lovely to hear you talking so positively about that. I know sometimes there can be a bit of a pushback about conferences. People think that it's just a jolly. What would you say if you had to say one takeaway from attending a Women in Policing conference?
Honestly, it was fantastic. I took a lot from it. It motivated me to want to, progress in my career, regardless of whether progression is what you want to take out of it. There's a lot of learning that comes from it, and especially like the motivation and seeing people in those positions. And I'd recommend anyone who has the opportunity to go and attend these conferences.
Oh, that's brilliant. Thank you. And so what's next for Kianna?
What's next? So at the moment, I'm really enjoying my role in the domestic abuse team. I absolutely love what I do. And hopefully in the nearby future, I'd be applying to progress in my career. So I will be looking at promotions. Never know. Let's see.
Okay, so you heard it here first. The next commissioner of the Royal Gibraltar Police will be Kianna. Thank you very much for your time, Kianna.
Thank you so much.
So now I've got Dave Chambers. He's a detective constable on the domestic abuse team in the Royal Gibraltar Police, and Dave's going to tell us a bit more about his role. Hi, Dave. Thanks for agreeing to speak with us today.
No problem.
Do you want to tell me a little bit about yourself?
So I'm DC 58 Dave Chambers. I joined the Royal Gibraltar Police in 2016, where I was on response for 5 years, mostly as a driver and motorcyclist. And then in 2021 I joined the CID, and for the last 18 months thereabouts, I've been with the domestic abuse team. So
that's interesting, and I don't want to stereotype, but I think you're in the rare position of being in the minority in Royal Gibraltar Police, whereas women are normally in the minority, but in the public protection unit, men are in the minority.
Yeah, so it's funny you say it like that. Public protection is quite heavily dominated by females, whereas I think probably about 90% of the force, 80 to 90% of the force is probably male. I think in policing generally across the globe it's usually quite heavily male dominated.
Yeah. So what drew you to working in that domestic abuse team?
I was initially in the CID, and then I got asked if I would like to move across the domestic abuse team. They were struggling quite heavily at the time. There was pretty much one DC there, who I think you spoke to earlier, DC Hermida. So they had quite a heavy workload. I got asked if I wanted to move across, and I was quite happy to do so. It's quite a unique position where you do have a high level of responsibility when you consider violence against women and girls, particularly in domestic abuse setting. Usually speaking, if you're going to get a murder, statistically it falls under the domestic abuse area. So to be a part of the team that can risk assess, try to prevent and try to raise awareness and do what we can really to try and prevent that, it's quite rewarding. When it comes to job satisfaction, that's one of the main benefits of the department.
And would you say, have you, did you always feel like that, or has being in that team sort of changed your perspective on things a little bit?
No, it's. I mean, I've always been aware of sort of like the risks that follow domestic abuse. I always wanted to move into the CID area after being in there for a couple of years. They deal a lot more with the sort of like maybe, certainly here at least, more the burglaries, arsons, etc., GBHs. But when it comes to actually protecting the people, the members of our community that are vulnerable, then you certainly get the satisfaction from being on that side. So yeah, I'm quite happy to be there.
And I spend a lot of time talking to people about why gender balance is important. So usually that's about bringing more women into policing, so that
Sure.
we get better policies, and that we do treat Vogue as a much more serious offence that it
Yes.
is. You know, what do you bring as a male? What's your perspective? What do you think you bring as a male into that domestic abuse team?
Yes, with domestic abuse, the majority of victims are women. There are male victims out there as well, so I think I bring that perspective as well. I think as well, it's particularly in that department in PBU. I think in every department you need to have a balance, especially in policing as well. Women bring a different aspect and different way of thinking to the organisation, in the same way that bringing it, trying to make the whole organisation diversified, if you like. You've got to appreciate individuals' experiences and backgrounds, and try and blend it all together to try and see that the public is equally represented across the organisation, in my view.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You're definitely preaching the converted. It's just really nice and a bit of an unusual position to ask what the man, how gender diversity works sort of the other way around. I agree with you. I think it's really important to have those different perspectives at the table, and it stops the groupthink and everything. So anyway, sorry, this is not me interviewing me. I want to talk to you. So what about you? What's next for you? Have you got any aspirations to progress?
So I have now applied for promotion, I believe, twice.
Okay.
The first time it was a bit of a shock to the system, going through the process of actually applying for the promotion and going through the selection weekend and everything else. I hadn't done that sort of thing in a few years since I initially joined. But I've been in the opportunity to be in the acting position for some time now. The promotions are around the corner again, and I'm feeling pretty confident about stepping up to the next rank as sergeant.
Brilliant, that's great to hear. And I noticed you're wearing a lovely pin badge there. I'm just going to zoom in on that. So where is it? Women in Policing, pin badge. So talk to me about why you think it's important to support women in policing.
As I said earlier, traditionally or historically across policing, it has been male dominated. I mean, for a start in the UK, I think women only started to enter the force within the last century, and the thoughts of putting women into high positions within the organisation was, until recently, really, in the grand scheme of things, quite unheard of. But then it also brings that other way of thinking and that other, progressive, in order to progress the organisation as a whole. So having each area of our community represented, particularly at high levels, just brings a different way of thinking. And if you look at the other organisations in the UK where they have had women in the top seat within the organisations, it certainly progresses the organisation forwards and allows for that additional way of thinking, really.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Dave. Thanks for your time today, and thank you for supporting the women in policing.
Thank you.
So I'm here speaking to Inspector Gonzales from the Royal Gibraltar Police, and she's going to talk to us a little bit about her role in the Women's Network and some of the opportunities she's had through the Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office funding. Patricia, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
So, like the introduction says, I'm Patricia Gonzalez is my surname. I'm a police sergeant in the Royal Gibraltar Police. I've been an acting inspector for the last 2.5 years. This year would be my 21 years in the police in September. My career is quite varied. I started off in response team, then briefly went to neighborhood policing, before I applied to CID, which I did 4 years there. I got my promotion in June 2011, and I went back to shift as a shift sergeant and remained there in RT for 9 months. And then there was a vacancy or a newly opened department, the safeguarding unit, which I was the sergeant in that team. Sorry for maybe ranting a bit. So from April 2012 to about May 2018, I was a sergeant in the safeguarding unit. After that, I became the MAPA sergeant or designated risk management team sergeant from May 2018 till October 2020. And after so many years in the crime division, I thought it was time for change. I was a bit burnt out by that time. And I thought, why not, change my career or, lateral progression. So I applied for the criminal justice sergeant role that had become vacant. And I have been the criminal justice sergeant since, I'm going to say October 2020 till to date. But it's like a dual role because I also do file preparation sergeant work.
Okay, thanks. And so Pat and I met each other a couple of years ago when I took over this gender programme that we're doing in the British Overseas Territories. And Pat had been part of the Women in Policing Network. So do you want to talk to me a little bit about the establishment of the Women in Policing Network, where that came from?
So how it all commenced, if my memory serves me correct, it was Commissioner Alja. It may have been after some conference he may have come from, thought it was a brilliant idea to set up a women's network here in the RGP. So I was given the task to create a committee. This was done in or around 2020, the latter part of 2020, I'm going to say. So we had a committee. It was officially launched in around March 2021. And to be fair, how the committee was created wasn't by voting. I think what I tried to do was get individuals from different backgrounds to make a better representation of us females here in the workforce.
So how do you think that committee's evolved over the years? For me, what I've seen in the last 2 years has really come on leaps and bounds. You've made quite a lot of progress. What do you think?
To be fair, the way how it's set up now is far better. People that in the committee are people who want to be there, and not because you've just been cherry picked, because maybe you're gay or you represent the LGBTQ community or something like that. So there's a better representation in the sense that because people want to be there, and you're voted in by your peers. So the committee, as it stands at the moment, people volunteered to be part of the committee, and then your peers then voted you in.
So talk to me a little bit about that Women in Policing Network. What do you do? What's it about? For people who don't understand, why do you have a women's network?
It's important to have I'm going to say that the committee. It's to better understand what our needs are as a collective, what challenges we face, and where we can support our colleagues and raise awareness for everyone within the force, and including police staff as well. I think it's to be visible and present rather than go off the radar or not be represented properly, if it makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely makes sense. Through FCDO funding, we've provided some opportunities for women from Royal Gibraltar Police to develop, and I know that you've had a couple of those opportunities, so would you like to just talk to me about that?
So the first opportunity was March 2023, Edinburgh. It was a senior women in policing conference. I attended together with DC Hermida. To be fair, I really enjoyed it because, first of all, I got to meet our colleagues from the British Overseas Territories, predominantly the ladies from the Caribbean, and we shared, similar stories, similar experiences, and even though maybe our backgrounds are slightly different, but we were there for a common goal, and we were discussing the different challenges that they face, very similar to ours. We had the opportunity to visit Police Scotland. For 2 days, we had some input from Police Scotland, and then we had the conference. I believe it was 3 days. Yeah, 3 days. It was, the best way to explain it was an emotional conference. The speakers were great, inspiring. I came back with a headache, but in a positive way, but because it was so much to take in, and the emotional toll it took on me, but in a positive way. So I had that opportunity. Then last year I was awarded the British Overseas Territories Inspirational Female Award, and I got to travel to Grand Cayman Island with Inspector McLeod. Again, can't complain, Grand Cayman, beautiful setting, and Cayman Island police force very hospitable. The conference that we attended to, the 2-day conference that was created by Maria, again, being able to link in with Aspire I just found it great to be there. It was, those opportunities, we wouldn't get it if it wasn't for Maria's hard work and the funding from FCDO. I can tell you that. And then, obviously, given that award, I can't complain, Thank you. And and after that, I've attended the Aspire course. Again, I'm still working on the course because I have coaching session which is on next week, and the coach I've been provided with, brilliant gentleman, he's making me work. But again, the cohort of people in that session on that week, brilliant. We're still in touch with them via WhatsApp. We're going to have a coffee Teams meeting where we'll link in, because even those that are in the UK, they can't physically meet because there's a lady up from top Scotland, she's unable to travel. So, given those opportunities and being able to link back to those persons in those senior roles, I wouldn't have those opportunities if I didn't have the help of Maria and the FCDO, which is the truth.
Well, it's really kind of you to say, Pat, but all I did was facilitate. You did all the hard work. So what would you say to people who were sceptical about women in policing or women in policing networks? Why is it important that we do this?
It's not that I can understand why they're skeptical. I think it's more, I'm going to use the word toxicity, because sometimes it's what you don't know you fear, and it's how people portray things and how people speak about it. And if you don't know and you just hear toxic words being, thrown about, you don't, as someone young in service or new, just wants to follow the crowd rather than, listen to what's been said or sold. But just, if you follow just those negative people, that is what you're just going to hear, instead of, sidestepping and thinking, you know what, I'm going to listen out to see what's it all about. And it's just give them an opportunity. Don't be negative, just listen to them and you know, it's like the saying says, if you got nothing nice to say, don't say anything.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Pat. So we'll finish with what's next for Pat Gonzalez.
What's next? Well, I'm studying for my promotion exam, which is in, when is it? April the 9th. So yes, I'm studying for the inspector's exam.
Well, best of luck with that, Pat. I hope you're not going to stop an inspector.
It's like my coach says, see the exam as a gateway, not a wall. And then once the gate is opened, you know, Bob's your uncle.
Well, I'm very much looking forward to seeing maybe Commissioner Gonzales one day.
No, I don't think so. I've always said I want to be the best of my job. I've never aimed for commissioner. I've only got 7 years to go. So commissioner is not in the trajectory. I cannot be commissioner. And I don't want to be commissioner of police. I want to be the best at my job.
Okay, we'll leave it there, but I won't stop pushing on.